Welcome to yet another episode of Sonic Conversations with the one and only Gabi Motuba. I'm sorry for throwing the engine name out there.
It's Gabi, please.
But yes, Gabi Motuba. And today, man, it's just an extension of what you heard. If you like the first episode, you're definitely gonna like today's episode. How you doing?
I'm good. We just got off a very heavy and intense conversation. So, just reflect. It was reflecting on a lot of things that was said, and this world. But we keep pushing, we keep moving.
Indeed. I mean, it's one of those things, man. And I think the beautiful part of having conversations like that, they kind of needed. Because they realign us to reality, with reality more than anything else.
Definitely.
And even when you are speaking about, things that people can resonate to, or that you can resonate to personally, it helps you also know that you're not alone in certain situations.
For sure.
It's hectic.
No, like in the words of Mos Def, the stakes are high,
Okay.
So, yeah, man, those conversations kind of get you really in alignment, like you say, with reality. But in that, there's a lot going on in the world, and it really seems like there's tension, in terms of this idea of good and evil, this idea of people who really want good out of this worldly situation and otherwise, So it's really important, like you say, to ground yourself in the intention of what it is that you want to come out of what you create,
Indeed.
What it is that you participate in, what it is that you are under, what it is that governs you. So these conversations are so integral to our growth and just understanding, like, man, life is something else.
No, it is. I mean, hadn't you said, yo man, let's start, I'm sure, I don't know, we'd still be talking. Probably 4 p.m. will even hit. Like, yo, that's how invested we are to the conversation.
Hey man, I gotta work, man. I don't know about 4 p.m.
God damn.
But there's so much to reflect on, and I appreciate that. It's like, yo,
it's eye-opening, Are you currently, did you travel, or are you still to travel?
I'm yet to travel. I leave in the next week.
Okay.
For my gig in Switzerland. I'm just preparing this week. Just getting ready for the collaboration that I am yet to have that side, but looking forward to it.
Tell us more about the gig, man. It seems interesting as we wait for the Swiss chocolate also, because we need that. We need that Swiss chocolate.
Hey, man. Switzerland. No, let me not say stuff. Let me keep it because I'm out there getting their money. Let me not speak again.
You're gonna say what? Okay.
Nah. Let's leave that one. But I'm going to Switzerland for a collaboration. With a really, really amazing bassist, South African bassist Carlo Mombedi.
Okay.
He reached out to me, I think in the last year, and was like, he's putting together kind of a band that is going to realize a few of his experimental stuff that he's working on. So the collaboration is between South African musicians and Swiss musicians.
Okay.
And and the musicians are these really, really interesting percussion players based in Switzerland, who've played with, I think they said they've played with Stockhausen. I don't know if you know him. So these are like the avant-garde new music artists. I'm not sure which time era. I may be wrong. Let me not say dates. I think I'll get it wrong. But yeah, Stockhausen was a really, really famous new music avant-garde musician. And this percussionist that I'm going to be playing with was playing in his band, or collaborated with him. So that's a really big deal for me also as an artist. Getting to hear, just playing with artists who've played with great musicians, and with musicians who've kind of shaped the trajectory of jazz, improv music, technology, in a way, this like avant-garde kind of sound, which is something of interest to me as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Are you guys going to have a studio camp?
What is that, a studio camp?
Like where you guys are making time to record new music or collaborate on music?
For sure.
Because
no, this is just a gig.
Just to perform.
That would have been nice, eh?
I think that would
we're just going there for the jazz. That would have been dope. That would really been. I mean, I'll take a little bit of some footage for myself. Hopefully, I think the festival is gonna record the music live.
Okay.
So that's gonna be there.
So wait, we're gonna get a version of
jazz.
The visual. Will they do a visual aid?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be streamed live.
Okay, you must share the link, Lorena.
Yeah.
So we can be Pagati inside
sure.
from home to Switzerland.
Shout out Saura. I'm gonna be shouting out.
I mean, it's also a beautiful experience, you know what I mean, and really opportunity, and I mean, it's like with last week's conversation, especially around the album, the amazing people you've gotten to work with, I think over the years you've built solid relationships, and to be able to get to that level where someone is considering you to come through for a jazz fest,
sure.
you know what I mean, to go with them. If we're really being honest, bruh, people are selfish in this world. People are flipping selfish, and to have a community that empowers and says, yo, I'm going here, but I'm not gonna do it alone. Let me split my check. If you guys are paying me 150 grand, I can afford Gabi for a good 30 or 45 grand, for vocals.
Sure.
I can afford Tabo for drums and so forth for another 30 or 40, So
for sure,
when you look at that, it's like you're building some sort of, structure for yourself and amongst each other, support system, and I think again it goes a long way. It takes time to get there, right? And in music, really, the music has to speak for itself, right? And when I'm reflecting, like today I was listening to Order My Steps because that's the song we're gonna be deciphering.
Sure.
I gave it a listen and I started understanding a lot more, based off what we touched base on last week, especially with the more spiritual journey, the, what do you call it, the Bible. Because when I listen to Order My Steps, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't you reciting a Bible verse, low-key a scripture?
Yes, I am, yeah.
I don't know, I was like, nah man, this is a scripture. Like, even if they say I don't read the Bible too much, or I don't know my Bible like that, I know this is definitely a scripture,
No, it is. I think it's Matthew. It's a very popular Bible verse. I mean, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I think either in Psalms or Matthew, I'm not sure. But it says that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Sheesh.
So, and I have made reference to why I use biblical, scripture, or I tend to, I tend to not write my own lyrics because I'm a firm believer that singer-songwriters are really, really incredible creatives, and that is like a gift in and of itself, to be able to develop lyrics off of a melody or a song idea. So I'm more into the composition part. Right? I don't really write a lot of lyrics, but when I do, I tend to first borrow from something that is existing, or a concept that is existing, other than kind of really, really formulating original lyrics. So this time I referenced quite a few biblical verses in this project.
Sheesh.
As a whole.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Damn, I like how you value the music space, and I mean, to those that haven't listened to the first episode, please go do, okay? Because you're gonna learn a lot, you're gonna understand why, you know what I mean? She values the industry. But
for sure,
there isn't many artists or composers that value roles like you do, right? And here's why.
Yeah.
You are valuing singers and songwriters, right? And I say singers in the sense that you're able to get backing vocalists when you need, right? Because
Definitely,
you understand
yes.
that you can't hit all notes by yourself. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Someone can complement,
Yeah.
you can blend vocals and create this uniform type of sound or sonic experience, right? Whilst understanding that there's a role of a songwriter. They get paid to write songs. They get paid to write lyrics, right? And in today's time, there's people who are trying to do it all, right? Like, nah, I must get a songwriter, but you can be like, but my bro, you are hearing your lyrics. Play the lyrics and hey man, and the song level, the production, it costs an arm and a leg for the production, but the lyrics does not make sense. And you really, when you value people who come from, even Beyonce would have 10 or 5 different songwriters for one song that's 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
Who are we to say, nah, we don't need songwriters, I mean, at least for you, your songwriters as whoever wrote Matthew. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's your songwriter. They better get their royalties. That's my songwriter. They better get their royalties.
Hey, bruh.
God is watching. Like, okay, when is my money coming?
Man, God is getting them royalties. You know what I'm saying? Like, God is getting a huge shout out.
But it's like, when is my money coming? I see you registered with Sampra, Capacity. Yeah. When is my money coming? Am I even added to the sheet?
They made the money, so God made the money, so it doesn't have to worry about money coming to him.
But it's a blessing in disguise.
For sure.
It's a blessing in disguise, man. And
for sure,
it's not every day, where people are also gauging a lot with themselves. Just, again, like tapping into their roots, like how we spoke on in the previous episode, right? And the thing I like that you brought out, especially when we were commemorating, to the late Tabang, right? It was a thing, relationships go a long way. And the art itself, when you're rooted deep in the art and you understand that it's above just a gift, it's a spiritual movement, it's within your DNA. I think those things, oh man, they just do a lot. They do a lot. And then I feel like a lot of people would learn further, around that particular extraction or thought piece, right? But I want to know, right, what were you going through actually, to write Order My Steps? Because it's a Bible scripture, right? And that Bible scripture has got a depth message, right? But what were you going through to reference that? What were you going through to really express vocally in that sense and sing that verse the way you sang it?
Sheesh, a lot of things. I was going through a lot of things, I think, emotionally, artistically, and there were a lot of ideas that I wanted to explore. But I think, as I listened back, because I think, even as creatives and as artists, we really can only capture a particular thing in retrospect, As we are working on something, it's so hard to make out what actually it is. You're just completely devoted to the process of making something, and making sure that it's the best offering that you have.
True.
You know, or the best offering in that particular perspective that you have. So I think that in retrospect, when I really listen back to it, it resonates with hope, you know, because of course, like the overarching narrative of the Sabbath is a kind of a thinking around grief, a thinking around loss, you know. But also within grief and loss, I think there's a lot of hope that is also present, you know, in that there's this loss is this shedding. So of course, like, you know, you have a hope that something else will blossom and grow from, you know, this experience. So I think that Order My Steps really encapsulated hope for me. Like, I just ended up making up something that really was, I feel, so like militantly uplifting. I don't know another way to say that, but it seemed like it was really aggressive in kind of refusing despair, you know. It was really just trying to soldier up and saying that, you know what, with everything that's happening in the world, I'm going to cling to this idea that there is a possibility of something else growing from the concrete, you know, growing from the debris, growing from something that was lost. So, yeah, when I reflect on it, that was kind of the big themes that I think resonated with it.
Sheesh. Do you now, you know, having obviously have expressed that and looked at it from that aspect and obviously broken it down, do you now, how can I put it, man, would you say that the music is serving the purpose that it was created for? Is it speaking or resonating with the people the way you had intended for it to?
Oh yes,
people, especially Order My Steps.
Definitely. I mean, I don't even know, like, I knew this was going to be a really, really important album for me, even before it came out, even as I was writing it. I just felt like, yeah, man, like, there's something here. And I think that because even prior to writing it, I was deep in meditation, you know, kind of like figuring a lot of things out, going through a lot of stuff. But I just knew when I put pen to paper that this was going to be something very, very different, something very genuine, and it was going to speak for itself. So everything kind of that's happening now after this project is kind of like testament to what I already knew. You know, it's like, I don't know how to say it. There was like I just knew that, okay, I'm writing something really, really special. Even as the melodies were coming, I mean, this is not just Order My Steps, funny enough. Mm-hmm. The intro, you know, that ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I wrote that kind of like 3 months before I went into studio.
Damn.
2 to 3 months.
Damn.
Yeah. I had already written the whole project, but someone had mentioned, because it was 4 years in the making, so I was piecing this body of work, you know, bit by bit, and doing different iterations and kind of collecting different parts as I was performing it. So I think there was a commission or something like that just said, hey Gabi, you know, I want you to work with a choir, and I want you to present and perform a particular thing that you're working on. So because when I thought of the Sabbath, of course there was no choir, I was just using strings.
Sheesh.
So I thought that, okay, obviously I took the gig. I was like, oh, for sure I could, I really want to do this project. And then something just said to me, you know, I think Order My Steps needs like that choir sound to it, that, you know, that kind of like that big sound. The choir kind of brings a very big sound to any project. So then I wrote that intro, and funny enough, I mean, that gig never happened. Jeez. But the intro stayed, and I kept it, and I was like, oh, okay, that becomes now the final version of Order My Steps. And then when I went into studio about 2 months later, that became part of the project, and that is the song, like that makes the whole song. So I was like, wow, like blown away, like, oh my goodness, had this person not asked me to do this thing, I would have never been prompted to write that intro. So
damn,
I think, yeah, there was just so many beautiful coincidences. Yeah, shout out to God. I think it was God. For God, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
No, but I think also, you see, and I think it even goes back to the conversation we had off record, right? It's the process of life. You feel me? That could be.
I'm so sorry. Just hold on.
That could be of God. Damn,
just hold on a split second. Let them just settle. Kunta! Stop.
Sheesh.
Okay, cool. I think they're done.
Oh, like that caught me off guard. I was like, I didn't expect Kunta to box today. But he's always blessing us with the cameo.
Yeah.
You know? Shout out to
for
Kunta.
Sure. The background.
Mm-hmm.
The background.
Always bringing life. Like, hey, I understand you guys are doing a podcast here, but hello, name is Kunta. But
hello, I'm alive, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trying to participate out here. Shout out to Kunta. But yeah, I look at it like this, right? Life is a process, right? But it's a process that's ought to be studied from. Like, if you think about it, we are living in the form of an archive, or soon to be archive, but at the same time in the present form. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We're making history in the present form, right? And the beautiful part about it is that we learn from our own stories, right? And same as how people would expect people to learn from their own stories, and obviously the same encounters they would have with us, we'd have with them, we learn from each other, right? But when we start to understand the impact of each encounter, each and every life's process, it begins to solidify who we are a lot more, right? And I'm not saying we're building a personality around people, we're building a personality around, you know, how can I even place it, man, around situations or circumstances, but we are growing with the times, and we're growing to understand ourselves, and we're growing to understand our contribution to the world, right? And what is it without the art? What's the world without the art? I can't envision the world without your art, because your art is making a difference in someone else's life. You can come from.
Thank you.
And sometimes we underanalyze, you know what I mean, the adaptation of music and how people can cross-reference the music space or certain elements to someone else's artistic pieces, you know? And the beautiful part about it is how you use your vocals. More than anything, like, I hear the band, and I'm not taking it away from the band, man. The band did an immaculate job, from Robin Fassi to Zolson Dooley to Kabelo Monatebe, you know what I mean, to Siobhan Plakis, to Vims Mavimps, Tumile Mokhorosi, you know. Wait, is it Tumile Mokhorosi the same person as your husband?
Tumi, yes, Tumi Mokhorosi, yes, the drummer.
So Itu, okay. I don't know why. I think in my mind, right, it don't dawn on me now. I'm like, okay, I thought it's Tumelo Mokhorosi. So I'm just saying, okay, Itume, okay. Hey, we learn every day, man. We learn every day. We learn every day. But
no stress.
But everyone played, you know what I mean, their role, and they contributed, you know what I mean, the various elements, the various touches to the musical work, you know, and it really speaks volumes to how it really complemented or was complemented by your vocal presence, you know. What was the initial creative process behind it, because there's a lot of people to have on one song, dude. Like, this is how many? This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
10.
7,
There's
8,
10
9,
people.
10. Listen to that, including yourself.
Yeah.
What was that process like? I can just imagine in that studio. One is playing or was it like each and everybody had their own turn, like 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, or was it done?
No.
In one go?
So it was like, no, I get you. It was a live recording. So I mean, I've done this before. I got the privilege of doing this before with Sanctum Sanctorium. This was kind of the earlier projects that I'd been a part of as a duo composer. And actually, fine enough, it was recorded also in Switzerland.
Sheesh.
About in 2016. And the amazing thing was that it was like we were all in studio and we were just playing as though we were playing live, but it was obviously a studio setup. So we were separated by those sound buffers. So you playing a song obviously as though you'd be playing it on stage, but there's obviously there's like how do you call them? I don't know what sound engineers call these, but each person kind of has a track, so it records each person individually, but we all playing at the same time.
Makes sense.
So this was how, this is how jazz musicians usually prefer to record, because there's a lot of spontaneity and improvisation within the music in and of itself. Like, you wouldn't play the same thing the same way twice. You know what I mean? So you prefer to like not layer sounds, but rather like, okay, let's play it all and then hear what the sound is and then like move on to the next song, and so that's how we do it. Kind of very different to kind of like hip hop or R&B, that, I mean, but I want to learn how to do that. This idea of like working through like what is it, like a Logic or what is that other Cubase kind of setup?
I see.
Where you layering, yeah.
I see.
So it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite fun, when you're working from that type of, aspect, behind the board, it's quite fun. Because again, it's a lot easier for you to also kind of control, how everything is, how audible everything is, in one go.
Yes.
As opposed to having to record one. That's exhausting. Ofentse.
Exactly. But that's why people who usually do the 1-1-1, that's like on the the Cubase, the Logic, what do we call this, like production software, ne?
Or your DAWs, digital audio workstation.
Yes, exactly. So when you're working on that, I think this is why maybe you'd layer fewer instruments. But I've seen people who layer quite a lot of instruments.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes by if it's digitally generated or it's recorded.
Exactly,
because
or
you
if
can
it's
digitally
live.
generate something.
Exactly.
And make it live, make it sound live. Oof. People who do sound design, I respect them. I really do respect people who do sound design. I respect them.
Yes.
Because it takes a lot. You have to make a digitally generated sound to sound like it's live, and even
it's
when it's
alive.
not.
Exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly.
That for me is really the fun aspect of it. And I mean, when now you're explaining that process, I respect your work ethic. To get different Pelamus egos are all around. Like, no, but I'm playing. No, but you play. Oh my gosh. How many times did you have to re-record the song?
No, usually we do about one or two takes per song. Yeah, it's not like
Jazz is soft.
No, you don't do
R&B.
many.
You'll do 10 or 20. No, I didn't like how this. Can I do another one? Yo, one song. That time you're working on an album.
No.
Ofentse.
Yeah. No, I think for us, if you go into studio, you have to really know what you're doing. I think this is a line from Kendrick Lamar. You know, he says, if you wanna put something on wax, you gotta go hard. You know, so
okay.
I think that's the mentality that we as jazz musicians, I think, have. Like, we know when it's studio time, you kind of wanna present your best in the first 2 to 3 takes, or else you get tired as well. You know, like, because this includes also the improvisation. If maybe someone has a solo, or you know, if something is demanded of someone, it's difficult to do it more than like 2 to 3 times. Like, yeah, it becomes really a challenge. So you want to stick to 1 or 2.
True, but in terms of the duration, you know what I mean, and the duration of each song, right? I'm just trying to gauge a little bit more around it. How did you guys kind of like, because each song is like, there's not a song that's like less than 6 minutes if I'm not mistaken, nah? It's probably 1 or 2, but each song is like above 4 to 5 minutes at most. Is it a thing where you guys took breaks in between to finish off the song? Or was it a thing where you guys just recorded throughout and then rested after?
We recorded throughout. We record throughout. So, I think, we recorded throughout, like the Black Adhan with then Order My Steps. So the Sabbath movement 1, 2, and 3, we recorded all together.
Okay.
So this was all one take, and it was split. It was split into 3 tracks.
Damn.
Because it was like one long movement.
Damn.
So I think that one is about 25 minutes, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
And we had to cut that. Yeah, so we cut it into 4 tracks. So then it was becoming the Requiem, and then the Sabbath movement 1, movement 2, and movement 3. So yeah, that was 4 tracks. Yeah.
Damn.
So that was recorded all in one take. Yeah.
La bereka. No respect. La bereka. La bereka.
You know?
Hip hop guys need
so
to
here demanda di chelete here batla di chelete tse holo khopela le satoro, you know, le satoro le balla ka matlhaba snacks and say hey wa re span ne bathong re span.
No, I get it, it's that thing hore le batla oma 3 billion, right? And like 3 billion guys. 3 billion. Ow.
Facts.
That's to make a movie, nigga. That's to make a movie.
But maybe, okay, 3 billion, okay. Mara, like a large amount. I think you're not too. Sometimes people really don't honor the process, you know, and people don't know what the process is. So they think that, you know, this thing was really put together quite quickly, or it's easy. But I think, yeah, you're right. It's so important to let people in on the process so that they can also have a part in respecting the hard work that individuals put into something.
What do you think they're not understanding about it? That's leading to them devaluing the process.
I think one of the key things that maybe for promoters or anyone who's actually working with artists to really understand is that in order to hone a sound, that takes years to be able to develop. And even what you're hearing on, like, for instance, on the Sabbath, from all these individual musicians, I'm borrowing years off of their experience to put on one piece of work. Do you understand? So it's not the Sabbath that makes all these musicians. It's all these musicians that make this body of work possible. So that in and of itself, it's like you're not paying for a studio session, you're paying for years and years of honing, of harnessing, of perfecting a sound that can come from an instrument, and that, I think, needs to be recognized, and it needs to be compensated for, Okay. Yeah, I think, I'd say that. If I'd say, like, a highlight, a big one would be that time into sound, into the development of a particular sound.
Okay.
Because that's your voice, that's
true.
That's your voice. So.
Okay. I mean, look, you're onto something there, but also, then what do you think would need to be done for them to understand it for the value that you're selling it for? From an artist side? From a promoter side?
From promoter side, I definitely say that I think the error that a lot of promoters make is collapse all these, I guess, all that the artist has to offer into one fee. So they say that, okay, this is the artist fee, which is, of course, I mean, that's okay, but this is just one aspect. So what I'm saying is that you need to recognize that there's a research aspect to this, to the value that an artist is bringing, right? And the research would be the years and years of honing, like I said, of investing in a particular growth of a sound. And also you're receiving the production aspect, right? So the production, I think then we break it down into the composition as well as the output, what comes out, of this thing. So there's three things. When you're speaking about artistic fee, this is what you're speaking about. You're speaking about research, composition, as well as product.
Okay.
And this is important, I think, for young artists to be able to recognize in their own work, and like I said, and for promoters to be able to identify in the works of an artist. If you're trying to get an artist and you're trying to think, okay, what's the budget? This is how you need to think about what the artist's value, where the artist's value lies.
True.
So yeah, I think that once maybe promoters can really, and also I think it's not even just the responsibility of promoters, but artists themselves need to understand that this is also a value that they carry.
True.
You carry that years of knowledge, of experience. You carry that composition, you carry that sound, and you also, of course, you also carry the product that you're obviously at the end of the day either going to be a part of, or going to be a contributor of, or even own. So yeah, I think this is a way for people to kind of ration their value.
True. Okay. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I feel like if anyone wants to go into jazz, they should come to you, man. You gonna give them a long ass, booklet and guide, because, and this is what I feel like, and I liked how you also placed it, like research. How you placed the word research. I think a lot of people execute things with a lack of research. And that lack of research leads to a lack of knowledge. That lack of knowledge leads to a lack of understanding. That lack of understanding leads to a lack of value towards these particular things. Because you're invested in the studio. You're spending time. You're spending your money. That studio session is not cheap. You're probably spending 10 grand at most for just the recording process. There's still the mixing and mastering process. And I think if people could understand and see that process and kind of get a light into that process, it will also allow them to say, okay, cool, I understand why Gabi is charging me 250,000 rands for performance. Right?
Exactly.
She's flipping Gabi Motuba,
and you won't complain.
but she's going to throw one heck of a flipping performance, right? And I think even people in corporate need to understand that, because some people book you because they like the music, right? But they don't understand the value around it, and hence okay, or you want 350,000 rands, sharp, here's 350,000 rands for your performance. Can you please make sure you're here at 10 a.m. or if it's like 12? You know what I mean? And if you yourself as the artist don't understand your own value, it's easy for you to work a 2-hour shift for 300,000 rands that probably doesn't even cover, because that 300,000 rands is supposed to be for a 1 hour set. But you end up compensating for 2 or 3 hours because it's like, I've never seen such money in my life.
Exactly.
You feel me? So I think if anything, or anyone that's listening, it's a matter of it's a need to go back to the core basics. And going back into what made you go into art, essentially. You know what I mean? Because again, like, what allows you to get into art also defines you as an individual at that very moment. Your state of mind, your emotional state. You know what I mean? It gives an idea as to where you're trying to take it also. As an artist, how far you want to take the journey or the experience. And it's scary sometimes, because you need to take that big investment in yourself before you can go to a company and say, yo, I want 1 million rands. You know what I mean? To be able to execute this project, I need 5 million rands to be able to do 1, 2, and 3. I need 100 million rands. You know what I mean? To be able to put this and this and this together. And it's for you as the artist, it's your duty to also open up their light as well. You know what I mean? Like, open up their eyes, light up their eyes, and light up their minds with all this information. And
for sure. And like, you're right. Sorry, sorry to cut you off.
No
there.
Stress.
But someone was saying that as a creative, I think also going into these spaces of negotiation, especially in the creative industry. Of course, it's one thing to press on, the monetary rewards and to say that this is what I want, this is the amount that I'm looking for. But I think there's also such an untapped and underestimated value in... Sorry about that.
No stress.
There's just kids outside. Yeah, I was saying that, there's an underestimated value in really understanding what people need, and to be, like I'm saying, to be able to defend the value in which you are bringing for a justified amount, right? So not to focus too much on the monetary, but to find the language within the value. Because I think, like my mom used to say, no one wants to, what does she say? I'm paraphrasing her, but she says, every person will get behind a good thing.
True.
People will support a good thing. Like, if really, I think, it is that. I don't think, it's possible for people to pass up something that they know will be a good contributor or a good contribution into the world, But I think that somehow with capitalism, the language is too much stressed upon the monetary side. There's a lot of contention within that space, whereby now you're advocating for rands and cents, as opposed to really, really showing how this idea is generated within a need that will serve people, and you see what I'm saying. So I think, like you've mentioned, that is actually where the labor is, to get people, I guess, investors, promoters, onto that thinking way, onto that track, of thought, for them to be able to ask themselves, okay, where does the value lie, and what is, what does this mean in terms of value contribution into society?
True.
Into the economy, into the space and time, and then take the conversation. And I think, like we were saying earlier on, these kinds of conversations will also lead you to the rands and cents. You
True.
actually will find yourself not having to advocate for something.
True.
Because the thing in and of itself will point you to where the value is. And I'm a staunch believer in that.
It's also currency. I choose to believe we all hold some sort of form of currency within our skill set, within our knowledge, within our relationships. And I think when one begins to see it like that, you start to also value everything that you do, because you possess some form of currency, right? Music alone, it's currency, right? And the one thing I tend to realize, like, artists sometimes tend to not understand how much of a gold mine they're sitting on, because your music is your currency. It can do so much for you if you repurpose it or you reutilize it for what it really is intended to be utilized for, right? But most important thing is understanding that you don't have to fight for spaces in certain rooms, because you're already there. You feel me? Without speaking, you let the work speak for itself.
Yes.
You feel me?
Yes.
And a lot of people stress themselves a lot. Like, no, but I put in so much work into this music. How come they didn't do this? It's like people are chasing award ceremonies. I get it. They bring some sort of brand amplification, right? But we shouldn't really put too much value around those things, because they're also chosen by people. You feel me?
Yes, exactly.
And you have to kind of constantly understand that your work itself has to speak for itself, right?
Yes.
Whether the people like it or not, the music is good. You feel me? Whether they decide to give a nomination or not, the music is still good. I think that's one thing a lot of people need to start prioritizing. And hence I'm saying your music is your currency, because how you then build the value around that currency is through the audience. Without the audience, that currency that you have has no value, because there isn't people streaming, there isn't people sharing, there is no people talking about the music. So there's no value to the currency.
I get you.
And a currency without value doesn't help. Do you know where I'm coming from?
I hear you. I think it's a yes and a no.
Okay.
Yes, and of course that I agree. I agree, of course, in the idea that your artwork is definitely your currency. It holds your value, and it's something that it's a negotiation tool. But also, I there's a little bit of a pushback with regards to the audience, because this is heavily biased. I think you can see within your Spotify's, how also record companies own these distribution platforms, and pushing particular artists, and I think the independent artists not being able to get the kind of attention that their music is kind of advocating for. So we do see this tug of war, but what I can say, and maybe what I can say, like what I do totally agree with, is the fact that if your music is good, you don't have to kind of what is it, like if you really know that the music is of a high value, one of the things that it helps you with is that it takes away all the kind of very predatory ideas around, value, and around around success within your specific discipline. So let me make an example for myself.
Okay.
I think I can simplify this a little bit. When I was making this project, yes, it took me 4 years, right? But one of the I can hear myself a little bit from your side. Sorry.
Let me shift back.
All of a sudden, I'm hearing my echo.
It's wild. Okay, let me shift back. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's weird.
Okay.
But probably a glitch.
Okay, no, I can hear myself now. Cool. No, it's maybe because what I'm about to say is super profound.
Huh?
So it was echoing a little bit. Anyway, I was saying, one of the promises I made to myself, and one of the meditations also I had, with God, I was like, I want to write a piece of music whereby I don't have to do anything else but present the music, and that be enough.
Okay.
I don't have to dress a particular way. I don't have to talk a particular way. I don't have to over-sexualize myself in any way. I don't have to network or speak to anyone that I'm thinking would help my career or something like that. I wanted to kind of I wanted to demystify and all these notions. I wanted to kind of really break these industry rules with regards to what it takes to have a successful project. And this was a very intentional thing on my end. I said I wanted to make a music that does not even have to require me to be in the room for it to get the reverence that it deserves. And that took me 4 years. But it was an intentional switch that I had made in my mind, or it was a light bulb that I literally went on and switched on, and I was like, this now is gonna be the way that I move forward with this project. Like, I don't have to know anyone, say anything, do anything, but play and present this music. And I'm telling you, it took me 4 years, and I'm seeing that today. Like, I'm having these wild ideas, and all I do is just send the music.
Sheesh.
People don't know who I am.
True.
They don't know where I'm from in the world, but it's like, it's getting that attention that I think, had I not been intentional in making that proclamation to say that this project, I want for it to kind of go down in this way. So I can't remember why I was saying this. What was your question again? But I felt like I needed to say.
No. It was more or less, I was kind of complimenting and speaking on the award ceremonies and not really building, a value around, award ceremonies, because you must focus on your currency, and the value of your currency is built by your fans, your community, those are the people you must prioritize. Because without them, you won't have an award ceremony celebration.
For sure.
Without them, you won't have the numbers. And without the numbers, you don't have value. Or at least your art does not have the value.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like I was saying, so that was the first part in creating this thing, really just to prove that it is possible to, for your music to speak for you as an artist. But number two, like you're saying, it's important for other people to recognize your art as well, because this is a communal thing. It's not enough for you to say that, oh, I have great art. It's important for also other people to echo the same sentiments, and this is where community comes in, to share in that same to come into agreement with that declaration that you're making, to say that yes, indeed, this is a true body of work. This is a good body of work, and this is true. I think, that's definitely where community is so important, in that it's not just you who's kind of beeping your own horn, to be like, I'm a genius, or those people like, I can dance, and it's just like, bro, you're dancing in your bedroom like alone. Like, what are you talking about? So you need a witness in life.
True.
I say that to say you need a witness. I'm sorry, I made a very crass joke, but I just meant that you need a witness.
And I mean, look, when you put it like that also, wouldn't then you, but I get you also when you're saying you need a witness. You need people who can see what you're doing, essentially, to kind of like amplify it out there. And I mean, it also takes your self-belief to also kind of like attract the people, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't see yourself in that level, are you gonna attract the people who are gonna see you in that level? Think about it. If you don't see yourself as a great singer or a great composer, are people gonna see you as that? Are they gonna receive you as that?
It begins with how you see yourself, definitely.
Hence they say charity begins at home.
Yes.
It starts at home,
And that's community, like you're saying, community within the jazz discipline, within the industry. If you have people that you respect and are able to take your body of work before, the public's opinion, I think that's very important. That's a big confidence builder. And that was also part of one of my processes, actually. After I made this work, I sent it to quite a few friends and colleagues within the industry, not just in music, but also people in the sound academy, people who write about sound, people who deal with, sound in the archive. I gave them this, journalists, that I know. I kind of presented this work first to them, and that feedback definitely gave me the confirmation that that I needed to kind of, stand in the work that I'd done. So definitely, I agree with you on that.
I mean, you've done the work. The work speaks for itself, bro. The work speaks for itself. So shout out to the people that also supported in the journey. Shout out to them that also gave the project a listen, especially Order My Steps, the song. Shout out to them for the feedback, because if it wasn't for that and that support, we wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? We really wouldn't be here. So shout out to them, but most importantly, shout out to Brakot. But yeah, man, I think just to close it off on a high note, one must really celebrate the Switzerland trip. So yeah, please bring us some Swiss chocolates. And then look, again, just wishing you many more of those type of opportunities to just go international and build the love, the relationships with the right people that side, and just continue elevating the career process, man. Like, I call it a career process because there's some form of hard work that goes into building a career, essentially, right?
For sure.
But it's really just growing and seeing you take your music to another level. Because right now, if we're really being honest, especially in the jazz space, there isn't really much reciprocated support coming from the promoter side, at least. Unless if you know people, it's so gate-kept in a sense that you need to know someone that knows someone that knows someone, or your auntie has to know someone that knows someone to put you on.
Hey,
you feel me? It's literally that.
For sure.
I don't see much jazz events. At least maybe I may not be overly engaged in that space. Maybe to you know what I mean? To know.
No, you're right. There's not many, not at all.
And we need more platforms like that, man. We need platforms where jazz
sure.
artists can shine, because we have great jazz composers here in this country, man. But hey, man, who am I to try to convince these guys to book y'all?
This is so true. Like you're saying, our individual success, or maybe our individual our individual light must be able to shine on the people here at home, and to be able to shine on also on industry, that they can see that there's value in the artists themselves, being able to collaborate or being able to be on these international platforms, which then of course means there is a demand for spaces, festivals, events that solely look at jazz creatives, composers, so definitely I'm also very much hopeful for the future, of sound and jazz and music in this country, for there to be kind of a very big investment going into the creative industries with regards to jazz musicians, and us seeing a lot more of that genre specific, anything, opportunity being made possible in this country. But yeah.
True. And I mean, look, it will come together. I mean, with your passion, with your drive,
hopefully,
just go break records. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, man, it's gonna come together, bit by bit. And it's like how I always view growth: baby steps. I'll always express baby steps, no matter even if that baby step is a huge leap. Baby steps. Because if we don't view things in baby steps, oh my gosh, you'll be overwhelmed. Be like, why do I have to make such big moves? Now I'm making big girl moves now. You know what I mean? I'm stepping into big girl shoes now. Sheesh.
Amen.
But when you say baby steps, you don't even know how far you've gotten from those baby steps, because they contribute. It's counting the little steps in your journey and appreciating and valuing those moments that are attracted by those particular moves, particular conversations, particular unionships, particular whatever that's particular about that journey. It's understanding that even in the process of that, never lose your special sauce. I call it special sauce in a sense, like your unique touch to everything, because we all have a unique touch, whether it's to the art, whether it's how we treat people. There's a unique touch to it, because people remember you different. Like how you treat someone versus how I treat someone. We can treat someone the same, but they might view it a little bit different.
Yeah.
You feel me? They might view it a little bit different. Sure. No, Mari, you see with Gabi. Gabi's just very friendly. She's quite calm, quite chill. But you see Ofentse was quite friendly, but I couldn't read too much into him. But we treat them the same. You feel me?
Sure. For sure.
And people can say it's a personality thing, but it's really just all about, it's a value thing. It's a youth thing, and when you strengthen that community, man, it's just gonna do so much for you, so shout out to the day ones that are listening in. Today I'm not gonna close off with a Bible verse. I think we'll have a Bible verse next week. We'll open up with the new Bible verse, but for this week, listen to Order My Steps. That's the Bible verse for today, actually. That's the Bible verse for today.
Order My Steps. Let me hold on. Let me just
No
let me
stress.
just
Bless us with the
Google.
verse. No stress.
let me Google what verses. So it's the steps of a good man. Hold on. It's Psalm 37.
Psalm 37. Okay, now you can read it for us
Psalm
then.
37 is coming through.
Say less.
The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. For sure.
Amen.
So they say, though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. So that's a very beautiful. That's Psalm 37. Those are the songs of the Bible
Amen.
that I reference, for sure.
Amen.
Amen.
So now you know. Listen to Order My Steps, right? With a little bit of a Bible open on Psalms 37 on the side, okay? But go support, go stream the Sabbath out now. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next week or the week after, and the week after that, and many more weeks to come. That's gonna be an insightful journey, man.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been lovely from me to you. Peace.
Peace and love.